Okay, so in this video, we're going to go over the AP CSA Unit 1 topic of the math class, not math class from math in school, but the math class with a capital M, like we have in classes in Java. They all start with a capital letter. So we're just going to go through all of the examples, and I have up here the quick reference sheet that you'll have on the exam. And what we care about is these methods here. So you'll see that all of them have this static keyword. We'll talk about that in a second, but it doesn't really mean all that much to you. What it means is that in your code, you can type math.abs, absolute value, math.pow for power, math.sqrt for square root, math.random for generating a random number. We're going to go through each of those methods with a couple of code examples in this video. Should be relatively quick, but that's what this static means. So don't get too worried about that when you go to look at these on the AP exam. And the point of a video like this is so that you don't have to go and refer to the sheet on the exam. It's much faster if you just have the definitions memorized and you're really fluent with them. Okay. So with that in mind, we're going to go through and we're going to take a look here at the absolute value. Okay. So you know absolute value from math class. This is not that crazy. And for each of these, I have some code examples. And I say that when you have the absolute value of the number 4, you're going to get 4. When you have the absolute value of the number -5, you're going to get 5. The absolute value of positive 3.2 is 3.2. And the absolute value of negative 5.5 is 5.5. And I've printed all of these out, and I have my code editor over here, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to make it bigger. I'll make it a little bit bigger, and we can press play, and we should see 4, 5, 3.2, 5.5. So the negative numbers all turn positive. That's what absolute value is, okay? So that's absolute value. Not too bad. Okay. So exponents, I don't have in my slide technology the ability to do the fancy 2 to the 3 or 2 to the 4 or whatever looking thing. So, you know, the power of something means 2 to the blank. So 2 to the 3 means 2 times 2 times 2. 2 to the 4 means 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, 4 times. So you're not going to like have to calculate a bunch of exponents on the exam, but you might see an example of this. And so we can see, I say that this 2 to the 3 is 8.0 and 2 to the 4 is 16.0. And we can take a look in our code editor, the pickcode code editor. And we'll see here that we get 8.0 and 16.0. I am not a liar. I'm curious though, you know, I write a lot of slides and we'll see at some point I will make a mistake and I'll guess the output wrong. Okay. From 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th grade, hopefully not 9th grade, you learned what the square root is. The square root of 9 is 3. And let's just toss that in here. And, you know, this is just good stuff in Java that they let you do all this math and you don't have to like write the code for it. Finding the square root in code is actually like kind of a complicated algorithm. So just FYI, it's nice of the Java people to give us all of that for free. So, this is actually, believe it or not, the last slide. So a lot of these videos are kind of longer, but this one is pretty simple. So the random number stuff is just a little bit more interesting. You know, it's not often that you think about what a random number is, but, you know, when you're rolling a dice in real life, you're really making a random number between 1 and 6, okay? So we'll maybe think about how we can do that in a second. But the method that they give us in Java is math.random. And math.random generates a random double between 0 and 1.0, I think not including 1.0. I think, so I'm just pressing play over and over again and I'm getting different random numbers. I think we could sit here for 1,000 years and we would never get 1.0 exactly. But yeah, I actually don't think we would, which is why we're going to get to different detail in a second. But you're seeing all sorts of different random numbers, right? And so they should happen in statistics. They call this a uniform distribution. So math.random there. Okay. But that is okay. You know, having a random number between 0 and 1, that's a double, is okay. But a lot of times we want a random integer. So we can use this code here. So we can generate a number between 0 and 9. And I'll run the code a million times to show us that. So what we're going to do, this is sort of interesting, and I forgot a semicolon in my slides. This is sort of interesting. So this is a pattern that you'll use over and over again in Java programming. If you ever need to generate random numbers that are an integer, you're going to, so think about from 0 to 9. How many numbers are there? There's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There are 10 numbers, right? So this happens in Java all the time where we're thinking about zeros and the number of numbers and the zeros and the nines and all this kind of stuff. So this right here will print a random number between 0 and 9 over and over again. So we got a 0, we got a 0, we got a 0, we got a 0. Yo, I wrote my code wrong. We need to do this first. We need to use parentheses. PEMDAS. Okay, so 5, 4, 9, 0, 6, 0. Okay, so we're never going to get a 10. Okay, so to get a 10, we could do this. We could go between 0 and 11. But then you have to remember that you have this sort of stupid 11 thing going on. Okay. So that's like whatever. But this will generate numbers between 0 and 10. What if you want to generate numbers between 1 and 10? So the way you would do that is you would generate a number between 0 and 9, and then you'd add 1. So all the zeros become 1s, and all the 9s become 10s, and then everything between is plus 1. So this, we'll never see a 0 in here anymore. And if we press play enough times, we might, like, I wonder if I should like fast forward through it. No, we got a 10. Okay, there we go. Okay, so you can do it that way. And then if you wanted to do like a dice roll, so this is something that like actually literally could come up on the exam. And there was a free response question 2 or 3 years ago that I remember going through where you had to do this like dice spinner game. And the whole thing that you needed to remember was doing math.random. So I'm just generating random dice here. And so this is the kind of formula that you'll want to remember is you cast to an int, so you round down, you do the math.random times the number of unique numbers that you'd like to generate, and then you do the plus 1 if you want to go from 1 to the number, and you do you don't do plus 1 if you want to go from 0 to that number of numbers minus 1. So you'll play around with that. You'll do a bunch of code examples. I'm sure there'll be some multiple choice about that. And as you're experimenting with your own coding, you can do that. And you can always feel free to go to PickCode to write some Java. The online editor here is free. So just FYI. So I hope this video about the Java math class was helpful, and thanks for watching.